Hello there. Here we are. I'm going to call it Joe's test pad. Joe from VR Labs or Sim VR Labs wrote a program for how good you are at hovering. And the first version, which he came out with, proved that I wasn't any good at hovering. I think Joe posted a figure of plus 89. And I think my figure was minus 275. Now, it later came out that it wasn't all my fault, of course. It was actually my collective only had 4 positions where the damper was sticky and I couldn't maintain height. Made an adjustment, it went up. So that's gone off for a service. It's on the bench. And so I've had to use my X52 throttle, but I've mounted it at 45 degrees on my sim rig next to me, and it works really well. So any budding helicopter pilots wondering about controls, X52, put the throttle on a plate at 45 degrees next to you, no end of buttons to play with, and works great. So anyway, we're not going to do the hover control program. He's since come out with a later version that has 3 levels, thank Christ. I think it's rookie, something like expert, and then super expert or something like that. But those titles are completely wrong, by the way. I've just forgotten what they were. But at least on the middle one, I can achieve positive results, and I'm moving up and getting better and better using the X52 throttle. So it does work. So there will be a link in the text. It's a fantastic program. Download it, make a contribution, because that's how these things are done. But the big part of it was that this scenery needed a place called Aero La Mancha to work, and that's where we are. So a bit of a long blabber there, but this is where we would be if we were doing the hover test program. But I'd never heard of this place. Being relatively new to simming, perhaps everyone else has, I haven't, and I have had a whale of a time flying around here. This is really good. So let's get airborne, because we're going to take a while to get to where we're going. Let's just back out and fly around the church, I think. This scenery is absolutely brilliant. I'm going to put it in the realms of the propstrike stuff, and in one respect there's another theme to it that, again, maybe you all know because you've done it, but I didn't know. And with this scenery comes a newspaper, or a number of newspaper cuttings, and there we go over the top, and we'll be heading down there soon. But that's the test pad at the church. Looks great. But we're going to be heading down there into the valley, and it really is a great place to fly. And with these newspapers, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of all of it, because you need to discover it yourself. But what I will say is that there's an underlying story of something unusual going on at this town out in the middle, well, I won't say of nowhere, but not far off. And it's a great place to fly around, look, and you just discover things every time you go round. And then when you've done that, you know, I've flown around here a few times, and I then went off and started exploring elsewhere, and it's a bit like Nevada. It's but with green patches as well. It's got some of the best trees I've seen, some of the best electric pylons. The place we're heading is slightly more unusual. There is another helipad actually on the mountaintop, which we're not going to go to because, well, it's for you to investigate. It's another slightly more unusual look at scenery, I would say. So I thought we'd use the Cadbury. Haven't been in it for a long time, and it might be good for getting in closer where my usual beast, the MD 500, especially trying to get used to the collective I'm running at the moment, is a bit touchier and maybe a bit more difficult to get into these closer areas. Of course, I might be proved wrong and actually can't get into these closer areas with this one either, but we will see. But you can see the quality and the number of trees, the things that have been added here are absolutely excellent. And the auto-gem works, you've got cars travelling around. You know, I don't know the team that did this, and I do recognise a few of the names, and a little bit later we'll see why I recognise a few of the names if you haven't already flown here or done it. But again, I can only emphasise, if you're into helis and you're into having a couple of days flying around searching out things, this is definitely the place to be. So you can just see the quality of the trees here. That's why I just came down low. Look, really good. And there are odd, I'm going to say, more usual communities, villages, you know, places where there's other villas, houses, things like that. But where we're actually heading is a little bit more unusual. And the main runway is over there, that's Aero La Mancha, and we're just start to drop down. Now if it seems a little bit rocky, it's because I've got the springs back on my joystick. I was messing about with one of those things with a propeller at the front, and I'd started the video and forgot, and so it tends to rock a bit as it centers itself and I hold it forward. I much prefer flying without springs, but we've started the video, so teach me to look next time. So here we are. Oh, and a big moon just coming up over there. So you can see lighting, got it low down at the moment. We've got some aircraft over there, good detail in those aircraft. We've got a great runway with the actual wording, I think, is Aero La Mancha down the middle here, and a little place further up there. But the weird thing you're going to notice first of all is there's a great big purple bulge in the middle of this place. So let me just go off to this side road, because you and I know there's only one dude that wears purple in the entire world, come to that, not just in the simming world. And so let's kill some speed off. Why would that purple hat be here? And this, I've been here, I've flown around, I know, but you've just got to think, who would wear a hat like that? And to most of us the answer is obvious, but I'm going to drop in if I can at the cinema. This will test my hovering skills. Apologies if my head is shaking a little bit today. And there we are. Bell geode, and I don't know if you class that as Kajar or Kajar. So we've got FS 2020, the Helix, Krabby Outback, X-Plane Hungary VFR, and the Bell Geode VR Cinema. And it looks a seedy place, doesn't it? It's I'm not sure it's somewhere you would come with your family. I might be wrong, but let's just also have a quick look at, oh, this is another good test here. I've got the spotlight on, so, and see if my zoom works. It does. That's the advantage of having the X52 normal throttle. You've got buttons for everything. So there's 3 Grumpy Simmers and Tomcat Chronicles, DCS, The Long Night. So we all know that's Bell, and obviously Bell had something to do with his project, and you know, that looks just brilliant, and it's just something that you find as you come away. There's a place called the Sky Lounge, which was no doubt another partner in crime here. Let me just come down here. There's a poster of some hunters who have killed or shot something they shouldn't, because you shouldn't be hunting, quite obviously. Mickey Mouse. And a hangar here. Now, I'm not going to mention a lot of these names that are on here, because many of you are going to know them, and again, there may be names that I haven't or don't know. So the Helix Collective I have heard of. Some of the names, like on this truck, might be quite famous to the community, and it's just me that doesn't know them, being new. So a heli simmer, obviously. I certainly know Sergio. And why are all those cows queuing up? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? So let's just drop down here. Who is this dude? Get down, zoom in. Got an Armour 3 t-shirt. Not somebody I know, or I don't think I do, but obviously had something to do with it. There's a community thing there, guided by passion. Another heli simmer badge at the top. A very rusty looking helicopter there. Just brilliantly done. And that notice board is worth a read as well if ever you come back here. So let's get airborne again. Obviously don't want to spend hours listening to me, but as we come around here, it's just the overall quality of everything is just so good. Look at that Helisimmer project, Helix Collective, just brilliant. And apologies for not knowing maybe who the people are. Now I'm going to just zoom off over this way for a moment. And maybe, you know, the work that they've done, because obviously this is just fantastic, and they put a lot of time and effort into this, and also just the general idea of doing something different, somewhere to come and explore. It is just great. And then when you get fed up with that, just the surrounding scenery is so good anyway. So we come in here just off the main runway and the main hangar buildings, and things to have a look at, and this is why you have to look around. There's a VR simulator in that shed. The Hungry VR simulator. Now, if we spin round and have a look over here, it's something like from SpongeBob SquarePants originally. Looks like the restaurant there, and again, names of people you know or whatever will appear and you will recognize them. But it just looks great. And if we return back the way we were coming, a lovely metal helipad. Now I'm going to try and do this with a heli rather than get out. Somebody looking at some bees. That guy, I think, who had the Armour 3 t-shirt on before. More notice boards. And then somebody, a lady. Now that could be somebody like Nova Wing. That's a 3 Grumpy Simmers t-shirt. And then we've got a couple of dudes here. One with a very iffy t-shirt on, and again, probably known to the community, or maybe even known to me, but I just haven't recognised them. And there's something to do there with bees as well. American or African killer bees, sorry, not American. So again, look at the detail. Frugal Sim. Yeah, I think I've heard of him. So we're headed back over towards the CD cinema and the aircraft hangar and the cattle, which are ganging up for some reason. Now I've done this, you know, a few times now, flying around here, and it still is just brilliant. Big engine there, and then as we come through here, there's an airplane, right hand side. I'm sure there's a lot more stuff to, probably if you got round in VR and just walked around, you'd notice a lot more. Nice little plane. And the moon again. Sorry if I keep going on about the moon, but as some of you might know, have heard me go on before, that used to be my business. I developed and sold astronomical telescopes for over 30 years, and astronomy was a big part of my life, and optics have always been a big thing. So we're heading down here, and we've got some balls, and then blow me, look, great English wording, isn't it? Blow me, look, police and ambulances. Now, why would they be here? And a return to the Jedi poster. Oops, sorry about the dust. So, car park full of ambulances and police lights flashing, and a bullfighting ring. So, let's have a look in the bullfighting ring, because we know there's going to be something nasty and horrible, and there it is. Well, there's a bull, but 2 policemen, a shovel, 2 bodies covered up with either being shot in the head or hit with a shovel, and a young woman face down Oh, dust is coming up now. Oh, and this bit reminds me of that great bit in Chicken Hawk, where if you've ever read the book, they're stuck in a place they haven't got enough power to get out of, and so they just fly around in circles until they pick up enough forward speed, and then all of a sudden they could lift out in the old Huey because they had enough forward speed and transitional lift. And I just thought that was such a great, clever thing. So somewhere else, there's numerous sort of, I'm going to say, sewage works all over the place, but we'll follow the road out. Let's head towards the moon. And again, just look at the quality, the trees, the shadowing. It really is. It's a bit like the propstrike studio stuff, but on an even bigger scale. Even if you're a plane flyer, this is a great place to go around as well, by the way. So, looks like we're coming over to another bit over here. Maybe next time I do that hover control program, I'll have to give it a go in the Cabri, because obviously I did so much flying in this early days. Maybe I'll get a better score. So we seem to have a river or a part of a creek here, and of course it's not going to be normal. There's cattle in there, dead cattle. There's a boat, there's a shed, and a couple of guys there. I'm not going to say what. Hands up. Lovely reflections, look at that, great. And then we get over here, and another police car. Sealing off the bridge. And then as we get closer, a hunter hiding behind cattle, probably shooting cattle. Sorry about the dust again. A guy under a bridge there making a run for it. Dead cattle. Cattle up to their waist in, well, looks like slime as well. But the quality here is just so good. And then we come to this woman who's pulling bricks out of a, well, no, first we have a policeman who's grabbed hold of said cattle and might actually be saving it, you never know, getting it out of the bog or the green stuff. And then we've got this woman tearing it down, and I have landed and looked in the top of this well. I'm just going to go over it. There doesn't seem to be anything going on apart from green stuff. Let's get over that. The rusty bits look so good on the tractors and stuff, and the old bits there, fantastic. Right, so more flashing lights and a truck. Let's go this side because, as usual, yep, another police car, and this time a policeman lifting a woman off the ground. Or she's trying to get away, I'm not sure what. I'm not going to say anything about the names. Now and again I have to, like this one. It did make me laugh. Not Return to the Jedi, but this Wonky. I thought this was just classic, great. And you know, more vehicles, more posters, great scenery, and then a final little car park here, because I don't want it to go on too long. You should come here and investigate yourself. More police there, more people. Perhaps I should keep more of an eye on the instruments there then. Right, and so here we are again, approaching the same spot where I just dropped to my death because I wasn't looking, no doubt, at the instruments. And we're heading into this car park where there's some police on the right hand side, a van, some other stuff going on there, and a purple car. So the reason for coming by here, twofold. One is to have a look at this old van, which looked great, but then a purple car again, and two very dodgy looking dudes doing some business of some sort. And I'll let you all investigate that one further. And then let me just spin round over here. Some poor guy on a bench on his own. That was probably me after I just dropped to my death through not watching the instruments. Somebody else there. And then a young lady with a man. Is that a big knife he's got behind her? Nope, it's just his hand. She's buying some vegetables of some sort, and another guy with his head in his hands. Not sure what that t-shirt says. Oh, might be the aviator one. If I can get down here. Sky Lounge, yeah. No idea who this young lady is, but she shouldn't be here, and you'd want to say get out of town quickly. So, guy there, another guy there with headphones, somebody on a scooter, Aero La Mancha, and another great helipad with a notice board on that you should look at. And the old rusty cars. The rust is just as I said, shows up so brilliantly well on this. And what a scene to leave it with. So I'm going to fly off and say thank you for taking the time to watch it. If you've not downloaded this, download it. Get Joe's program, because it really will put you in your place if you think you're good at hovering, which I did, and I'm not. And if you do, make them a contribution. As I mentioned on another video, I'm out of contributions this month because I bought the Rift S, but next month, this scenery, Joe, and there's somebody else I've promised as well. I can't remember. Might be Josh, I think. You know, even a small amount, the price of a magazine or something, it makes a difference to these guys. You know, and I don't have a lot of money. I'm out of work, and you know, don't have a huge amount to spend. And even the Rift S ended up as the Christmas present, but just a really early one. I think 70 odd days early. But this scenery is outstanding. forget even the slightly seedy side of that town. If we just fly off in a direction, you could be doing, bush type Cessna aircraft, those ones with the fat tyres. Might even be able to do some gliding around here. And then if you carry on north in Spain, there's all the usual bigger airports and everything out there. So let's see if we can get it in here. And I'll talk to you all next week. Thanks for watching.